right, good morning, good morning. Let's start standing up, and we're going to start with head rolls. So if you reach behind your back, hold the opposite elbow, doesn't matter which, and we're going to gently roll the head. So you'll notice as you roll your head away from that pulled down elbow, we're adding a little bit of a stretch over that shoulder. So you may want to pause there, be nice and soft in the jaw. Not really forcing those circles, just finding a nice exploratory movement with the head. So you add as much pressure onto that elbow, pulling it down towards the floor as you wish. Take those circles in the other direction. Nice and gently does it all the way around. And then hold the other elbow. So this is just adding a slightly new dimension to this neck roll, head roll. So we can explore a little bit more neck release. Take it round. And then change the direction of those circles. Wonderful. So we'll move on to the shoulders, slowly making our way around the body. Start by holding the shoulders. It just gives us a better sense of where we're moving the shoulders. Take the elbows together, shoulder blades come apart. And then all the way up to the ceiling with the elbows, and then physically turn the armpits up to the ceiling and draw the shoulder blades back and down. So let's take a few rounds of elbows together, up to the ceiling, and then a big breath out, shoulders back and down. If you've got no niggles in your shoulders and this is all fine, we can extend the arms, straightening out and reaching all the way behind. Here we're separating the shoulder blades, knees slightly soft, rounding the back. Big breath in, opening and squeezing the shoulder blades together, shoulders back and down, once more like this. And then we'll bring the arms forwards and backwards, so thinking specifically about internal rotation and then external rotation. We'll have a little bit of an arc that will draw forwards as we round forwards, and then that arc rainbow shape reaching for the wall behind. A few more times forwards and backwards, always with an emphasis on shoulders down, and here shoulders back down. So always think about those shoulder blades slotting into those nice deep pockets on the back of the body. If this is too much on the shoulders, if you have had any past, present shoulder niggles, stay with holding the shoulders and just physically rolling them forwards and backwards. And then let's just take the arms higher than shoulder height with your hands and just take a swing. So now we're working into the upper back, mid back, feeling that rotation in the spine. Again. Oh, up into that little bit of a swing. Take it side to side, and then let's hold on to the hips, moving on to the hips. Feet nice and wide, and draw a big circle. So take it all the way around. A pace is good for you. I keep the legs straight, so I can specifically focus on the stretch, working its way around the top of the leg. You also simultaneously get a stretch in the inner thigh of the other leg. But take a pace that feels nice, and then change direction. So then working a little bit more dynamically with the hips, we'll take the knee into a lifted position, and a bit of balance work here, maybe a finger on the wall, and let's lift the knee. So let's draw a big circle with the hip going in the same direction. We'll take maybe 4 rounds in this direction. Again, your finger on the wall can help you with your balance, so we can get a little bit more movement into that hip. Once more in this direction. And then let's take it the other way. So send the leg back, side, forwards. I did a lot of work on my glutes this weekend. I'm already feeling the heat. Wonderful. One more of this kind of internal rotation. And then shake out the leg. Over to the other side. So we're taking the knee in a big circle across the body, forwards, out, and back. Nice deep breath. Control breath, take the arms out wide to help with balance. We'll find a chair. Once more in this direction, then we'll take it the other way. Bit of clicking, clunkings. Okay, as long as it's not painful. A little bit of muscular effort is good. And then let's shake out the leg. Top of the foot. So let's go back to the other foot. The big toe and the second toe. We point them behind, so you'll notice the nail of the foot is on the floor. Toenails down, pointing the foot. Now, most of my weight is in my front leg, so I'm just gently feeling a little bit of weight into the front of the foot. So it'll either be felt more on the front of the toe joint, the top of the foot, or the ankle. But go easy. We very rarely stretch out this part of the foot. And then by rolling in, we'll get a stretch into the smaller toes. Little toe, the smallest three toes, just by rolling your body in, finding a gentle stretch for the tops of those toes. Breathe into it. Today we're going back to some basics. Doesn't mean to say it'll be easy, but some classic movements for yoga and Pilates. And then wiggle those toes. Let's go on to the other foot. The biggest two toes first. Send the toes back. Find your balance. Good place for a chair is right here. Help you with your balance. So I'm putting as much weight as I feel I need to find a nice level of stretch in the toes, top of the foot, ankle. And then again, just rolling in, we can then target the smaller toes. Just think about how we can lean the upper body forwards and get a nice stretch over the front of those toes. Wonderful. And then give the toes a good wiggle. So let's get the body moving. Take it nice and slowly and see if we can deconstruct some movements that we often take. Let's say the arms out wide for a really big stretch, and then keep the arms overhead. Stretching the fingertips up to the ceiling. Now think about the position of your pelvis. So I'm merging yoga and Pilates here. I stick my bottom out, I'll get that kind of more gymnast sort of body. And then if I tuck the tailbone under, tailbone down to the floor, pubic bone curling up to the ridge, you'll feel that core engage. So just try that once more. Pelvic tilt, bum sticking out, and then tucking under. We're going to hold it there. So we're in a longer position for the lower spine. So as I circle the arms down, I'm going to try to keep that core engagement and come into a flat back. So swan diving the arms down. Keep that core engagement. Feeling the stretch in the backs of the legs. And then we'll fold all the way down. Holding the backs of the legs. When you can't go any further, bend your knees until your chest is resting on your thighs. Pause here. Head dangling. No need to look up just now. Now we'll straighten the legs, press into the floor. And we'll come to that 90-degree angle, halfway lift, long spine, long neck. Then bending the knees again, weight into the heels. Lifting up into a chair squat, drill those heels into the floor, core still engaged, and come all the way up. Cactus arms float down. So let's do that again. Big breath into stretch. Take a moment to feel what a sway back curve is, and then tucking the bottom under, feeling that core engaging, and then let's slowly come to that 90-degree angle, halfway lift. And then fold all the way down. So here we're flexing the spine fully, starting to bend the knees unless you're very flexible and your nose is already over your knees. Take a big bend into the knees and then come back to the halfway lift. So legs straighten, back long, neck long. And then rebend, weight into the heels, reaching into the fingers, that core engagement. Feel that pull with the navel back to the spine, drilling the feet into the floor. Big breath in here, cactus arms, and float the elbows down. Last time we were adding on. Take a big breath into stretch. Right away, find that neutral spine so we're engaging the core, and then coming into that fold. Still core engaged, And then when we can't go any further, let's bend the knees, hugging chest and thighs together, holding around the backs of the legs. Halfway lift by pressing either into the floor or fingertips into the shins, lengthen the spine and the neck. Rebend the knees, sink low, weight into the heels. Find that engagement and pressing in, come all the way up. Big breath in, cactus arms will float down. We'll add on a step back lunge. So let's take a breath in. You can initially take a little bit of a back bend. So we're thinking about spine extension here, but then consciously zip up. So we have the support of your core as we come into this fold. We're coming all the way down, holding the backs of the legs, bending the knees. And then lifting the chest, finding that tone in the core. We'll step back with one leg and we'll lift the arms. Front knees bend, back legs straight. So by tucking the bottom under here, now we're getting hip flexor stretch. Shoulders back and down. And we can take a back bend like a crescent shape here. We do it consciously, but then consciously have a little bit of a tuck in the tailbone and find some tone in the core. Take a breath in here. Swan dive the arms down, fingers to the floor and step to the front. Weight into the heels, chair, drill the heels into the floor and come on up. Cactus arms will float down, other side. Take a breath in and stretch. Initially with a back bend, spine extension, maybe even lifting up. And then consciously find some tone in the core. Swan dive the arms down to a flat back and then keep going. Knees bend, chest and thigh come together. Halfway lift. We're going to step the other leg back, stepping back, lifting, and once you've stabilized, lifting the arms. Again, a little bit of a crescent back bend, chest open, heart open, arms a little bit wider, but then consciously tuck, hip flexor stretching, your core engaged. Take a moment here, and then we'll come down, hands to the floor, step to the front, weight into the heels, drill the heels into the floor, and rise on up. Cactus arms and float the arms down. Let's add on a breath in to stretch. A little bit of a back bend, but then find that straight line. Firm up the thighs, the glutes. And we'll come all the way down. Keep going, bend knees as much as you need to, then halfway lift. You're stepping the first leg back again and lift the arms. Take a breath in here. Now so you can straighten the front leg, hands to the hips and we'll fold. So depending on your flexibility, it may be a small movement here. Maybe you lift the front toes and come all the way down. So anywhere between those 2 points where you feel stable, it's all fine. You can lift the arms overhead, circle them back. Let's pause here for a moment. And then re-bend your front knee. Gently step to the front, weight into the heels, ground down, rise up. Cactus arms will float down, other side. Take a breath in and stretch. Heart open here. Then find the tone. Come into your fold. All the way down into a full fold. And take a halfway lift. You're stepping the other leg back. Find that crescent shape. Front knee bent, back leg straight. Maybe we'll lift the arms. Pause. We're going to straighten the front leg. Start to straighten. Hands on the hips to help with your stability. And then we can start to hinge from the hips. Folding. Find where's a comfortable level of stretch at the back of the leg. Hands wherever you feel supported. We'll rebend that front knee. Come back to your chair, set up, big toes together, knees together, heels into the floor, drive the heels into the floor. Take a stretch, cactus arms and down. You're nearly there. Last one, and we'll take a warrior two. Take a big breath in here. Now we have that awareness in the pelvis position, how that helps us find some engagement in the core. Let's come to a forward fold. Take a halfway lift. Stepping your first leg back, lower the heel. So now we've got a 90-degree angle. Your back heel is behind the toes, front toes pointing forwards. And let's lean into that bent inner knee and stretch all the way overhead. Take a breath in here, find the tone in your core, and then come back up, warrior two. Breathe in here, breathing out into our extended side angle position. With your breath, shoulders back and down, bottom tucked, and then take it to the side again. Last time. Shoulders back and down, reaching for the side walls, tailbone pointing down to the floor. And then we're going to dial the back hand to your front foot and lightly step forwards, weight into the heels, drive them down, reach up, cactus arms and return. Last time with the other leg, big breath into stretch, open, breathing out, finding that tone into your fold, bow the head. Halfway lift. Last time, so your other leg stepping back, lower the heel at an angle, and we're into our warrior two setup. We'll take the front forearm to the inner knee, so I'm pushing it back together, inner thigh stretch, and reaching up and over. So feeling that stretch right over the hip. Now power up into your core, come to your warrior two, shoulders back now, grip the floor with the feet. We're toggling between these two positions, take your time, feel that yummy stretch over the hip, and then back to your warrior two. A few more rounds. Wonderful. Warrior two, looking at the front middle finger, keeping the front knee forward. Last time into that extended side angle. And then we can carry up all the way those fingertips to the floor. Step to the front for your last chair, weight into the heels, roll down, stand up, cactus arms, and melt down. Have a little swing around the waist. And then we're coming to sit down. So, when you're ready. Okay, so when you're ready, we'll come to sit down. We'll have the legs out in front of us. We're thinking about now the Pilates twist for the spine. We can start by having your hand on the opposite knee, posting your arm behind and taking a twist. So an assisted twist for the spine, looking right over your shoulder. Check if you've got a nice long line, that vertical line up between the sit bones right up into the crown of the head. And then we can take that twist to the other side. So nothing aggressive, but we're just checking out where our flexibility takes us. So that then when we move the flesh away, sit up nice and tall, we're holding the fronts of the shoulders. Now when we're using our body's own strength, that core strength, see if you can turn nearly as far, probably not quite as far, but just feel that rotation in the twist, in the spine, breathing in center and take it to the other side. So every now and then, if you feel kind of frustrated with how little we can turn, just using our rotational strength in the core, you can post the hand and get a little extra twist, then try and hold it and control the return. So we're kind of boosting how far you can take it. So we go side to side, try and keep the shoulders down away from the ears. Head right over the pelvis and the ribs squarely under in between. See if we can breathe in center, breathing out into a twist. So we're using the end of that out breath to pull in the strength into the abs. So keep us really bolt upright. So think about if you spend long periods of time, we're usually forward, shoulders rounding in a very static position for a long period of time. So this is one of those quite uncomfortable and often not very enjoyable exercises, but very important to keep the spine moving and to keep and develop that rotational strength. Let's have one more each side and then we'll leave that one. So go for it, big twist. Looking all the way, wherever your gaze goes, your body will follow. And last side, or even yourself out left and right. Wonderful. Hug the knees in and just take a moment here, rounding the back. We're going to stay in this position for a modified cat-cow, or hold the backs of the knees. And pull on the knees to puff the chest out, rolling the shoulders back and down. If you're a little bit rounded in the back, you'll immediately feel this around the shoulder blades, thoracic spine correcting itself. And then let's reverse, separating the shoulder blades, rounding the back. So we toggle between spine extension. Really think like you're lifting the chest up to the ceiling, shoulder blades gliding down the back, and rounding the back. 2 more sets, or just one very slow one. So shoulders back and down, chest forward, using as much of the strength you need in the arms to give you that extra length in the upper back before rounding. The last one. And then releasing. We're into a mermaid stretch. The last plane of movement we want is lateral flexion of the spine. So think about this as being your front knee. We're going to just work with this side. So hands to the floor, reach up and over. So we're stretching this side of the body. Reach into the fingertips. And then square up, same lifted hand to that same front knee, table twist. Toggling between these two, lateral flexion of the spine, and then continuing to work with that rotation of the spine. Now we have an option here, and when we take that lateral flexion, we may lift and continue that arc, so we're getting the stretch down the hip. Find whatever feels nice in the hips. So you notice that as we're now adding this a twist, from this position, we're allowing the spine, the whole spine to rotate, and even getting into the hip here. Let's have one more of these on this side. You can keep the hips on the floor, that's fine. The last twist. And then let's flip the legs over to the other side. When you're ready, check out on this side initially, maybe with the hips down. Same top arm to knee, spin and look round. And then maybe if your knees are comfortable with you lifting, we can come into this lifted position for creating a little bit more of a rainbow shape. So what we're classing as the front leg, that front foot, I'm pushing into my thigh to give me a little bit more of a solid base. We'll have one more set on this side. When you take the twist, see if you can really tune into the shoulder blades swiveling on the back ribs as well. Wonderful. And then come out. Let's have the legs out in front of you, rolling down through the spine. Hold on to the mat, hold on to your clothes. Once we're done, we're staying down. We'll bend the knees, feet flat to the floor. So if my hammer's under your back here, I want you to imprint the lower spine. So press into that imaginary hand of mine under your back here. Imprint the lower spine, turn on those core muscles, shoulders down, chin tucked. Let's take the legs to tabletop. Depending on where your core muscles are, if you have a tendency to arch, these knees are going to come closer in. If you're a little bit stronger, the legs will go further apart. Find your starting point where you can plug your tummy button through to the spine into the mat. All right, shoulders back and down, chins tucked, and we go with toe dips. Doesn't mean you have to touch the floor. We're lowering one leg to challenge this core engagement, and then we'll return. So there's no change in the curves of the spine. If you're even tempted to arch the spine, you must stop and return. That's the kind of boundaries that you're working with. Shoulders back and down. Shaking's fine. If this is easy, Take your thighs further away from you as your starting point. Hands can be holding the mat if you're on one, on either side of the mat. They can be on the belly, and it just gives you that extra feedback of pressing your belly down into the floor, drawing your front ribs together. Doing well. Let's have one more set. So these classic movements in yoga and Pilates, you know, we can get over fussy and caught up with newfangled disciplines that come out, and I'm a terror for that. I love any new functional movement disciplines that come out. But you know, these movements are classics for a reason. Hug the knees into your chest. They work. So a little rock on the spine here. We're rolling onto your tummies. Superman, but this could be a yoga locust. So let's start with the forehead to the floor. Hands can be stacked at the back. Pull the shoulders back away from the floor, pointing the toes, pivot bone into the floor, and we're floating up where you concentrate on the toes reaching the wall behind you, top of the head reaching forward, your gaze is down, and we peel the shoulders back away from the floor. Hands are on the back so that we don't arch the spine. That's a reminder to press the pivot bone into the floor and then float the forehead down. So in your own time, make sure that we always have this setup of almost doming the back, bottom tucked before we float up. Shoulders are peeled back, toes reaching, so we're thinking about lengthening the body rather than lifting it, and float down. Breath in to prepare, always re-tuck before we come up, so that we come up already engaging the core muscles. Then it's just layering on an extra bit of strength between the shoulder blades to stop the shoulders from dropping down to the floor. Last two, breathing in to prepare, always a reset and floating up. Take it at your pace. Feel that engagement as if I'm trying to lift your belly to slide a penny underneath your tummy button. One last one before we take a child pose. You're nearly there. Point the toes, lengthen the whole body like you're on a rack. Someone's pulling your head forward, your feet back, and pulling your shoulders up to the ceiling. Imagine puppet strings on the backs of the shoulders, pulling them back. Extra little stretch, and then float down. Hands under the shoulders, tuck the toes, and take it back to a child pose. Sit back and have a little rock here. So knees don't need to be together, a little distance between the knees, and have a go at rocking side to side at that slow pace that you're feeling a little bit of stretch into the hips. Breathing deeply. We've got one stretch now for the hips. So let's take the hands forward, glide one knee on top of the other. Take your time, or draw the knee all the way forwards if you need to get that stacking of the knees. Then open the feet wide, and maybe it also stays in the air. We'll work into a stretch for the hips here. Depending on where your hips are at on this side, maybe we start to lower ourselves down, either onto one heel, that's fine. And eventually, as long as we know the direction we're going in, we would eventually work towards hips sitting on the floor in between the heels. We're coming into a forward fold, and I want you to just take a moment here to breathe into the hips. Good to think about that crystallized, honey, sticky stiffness in the hips, turning into lovely, gloopy, smooth, soft honey. So finding a lovely nourishment and soothing of the muscles of the hips. No forcing. 2 more breaths here, and then we'll take it to the other side. Deep breaths. Find some softening with the out breath. And then slowly, let's get the hands back to the floor. Press into the hands to roll forward. We'll go straight onto the other side. So we can take the other knee all the way forwards as we're taking a pigeon pose, and then glide it back. Separate the feet, because even if we're not going to sit in between the feet today, we should know where we're heading towards. So we're future-proofing the position and then coming into a fold. So lying on your front, the top thigh is too much. Hands can stay on the floor to prop you up. Maybe you want to sit all the way upright and get your knuckles into the hips if they're resisting softening. As far as possible, see if you can go into focusing on your breath with an extra long out breath to allow a little bit of softening. And picture all that soft, those soft tissues, as if all the muscle fibers, like tassels of a scarf, everything's just floating, shimmering, and lining up beautifully, giving you that little bit of extra length and softening. Take 2 more breaths here. And then slowly push your way up. Let's unscramble ourselves. And take the legs out in front. Give the legs a little bit of a shake, a little bit of a roll from bottom cheek to bottom cheek. And if you have time, give yourself a moment. Maybe you can take a shavasana if you have time. And so we can mentally prepare for the day. Well done.